And we're live. Hello, everyone. This is Andy Hall. This is The Late Show. With me, of course, is Jack Maturko and our guest author, comedian, Nathan Timmel. And now we just mix it up and start talking.
I'm the author comedian part of the show.
You're the talent of the show. That's what you are.
I don't know about that, but I'll just be a talking head. Let's get angry about something. Let's cancel someone tonight. Who should we cancel?
Well, yeah. So Jack, how are you doing? Before we dive into Nathan's book, we are 100.
I'm doing okay. Things are work-wise. Things are going good over at Big Satan Central.
Is that incorporated? That's fantastic.
It should be at some point. Things are going well.
BSC incorporated.
I don't know if we get to cut a little Naz's video or not. I don't know what the deal is, but.
Excellent. So I want to say hello to people in the chat. Tobin Templeman, how are you doing tonight? And B, let us see that you're both here in the chat, chatting around. And I did Atheist Drinking Out Loud last night, and I didn't get too wrecked. I didn't brown out. I didn't black out, and I feel like that's a personal accomplishment for me.
But if it's a drinking show, didn't you do it wrong then?
Well, yeah, I guess you do have a good point there, Nathan.
I'm not trying to shit on your accomplishment, but I apologize.
You're just trying to be, I need more bad influences in my life, Nathan.
I'm just trying to take a positive and make it a negative. It's what I do. Ask my wife.
Right. So, hey, I read through your book, We Are 100. I'm going to read.
That's fantastic. You did. You were able to finish it. And before I start getting into the nuts and the bolts of the book, I'm going to read the synopsis that you have on Amazon.com, where people can buy the book. The links are in the description, and also it's the first item in the chat. I threw a link over to your book on Amazon. So let me just read the synopsis, so we're all on the same page, so to speak. After losing his wife, Evan Frankert is depressed. He has an axe to grind with a pharmaceutical company that jacked up the price of her medications, but feels powerless against $1 billion corporation. Then he meets Cassandra. She shows Evan a way to both end his life and become a hero. With her guidance, Evan interrupts a company board meeting and blows the building sky high as FBI agents Susan Chamberlain and Michael Godwin discover Evan is the first of many. 99 more are like him and wait anonymously in the wings. Their targets just as personal as Evans. The prosecutor who lets rapists walk free. The inept surgeon who maims patients yet keeps operating. The phony evangelist preying on those seeking solace. And that's just the beginning. Will the FBI unearth Cassandra's identity before all 100 carry out their plans? There's an error in there.
Is there an error in there? It's probably just by me.
If it opens with the guy, no, it's our error. It's an error at my end. If the first one is a guy blowing himself up, then there's only 99 left. So I made a math error with the back of the cover with the book. That's it. Bad reviews pour in. He doesn't do math. I never realized it until right now, until it took you reading it to me to realize there is a math error in there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because I've looked at stuff that I've written like years later, maybe months later, sometimes years later, and I'm like, that sentence does not make any sense, or there should be a comma there. But people, if they like your work, they can be I know this sounds odd to everyone, but the internet can be very forgiving at times of minor mistakes like that if they really like what you do.
Well, it's also people just don't notice. They're probably not. Nobody listening to you right now probably caught that. I did, just because it's hammered into my head so many times. But I'll tell you this: there was one error in the book. Like, I wrote it, then I edited it, then I gave it to someone. They read it, an editor sent it back. I corrected it, sent it to another person. They edited it, sent it back, and then gave it to a couple friends for test reading after it had been edited 4 times. Yeah. And one person circled something at the beginning of a chapter and said, "Huh? Her?" Yeah. And I looked at the sentence. I'm like, I don't remember the sentence, but it was something like, Michael walked down the stairs. She then turned. I'm like, she, like, but every editor up until the test reader had missed it. And it was just a simple, like, I literally just wrote Michael. And then, because there are 2 characters, Susan and Michael, and I just confused them for one moment, and no one caught it until a test. So have people test read your stuff is the point of that. But yeah, errors happen and people miss them or are forgiving, or they're just, they read fast and they get the gist of it, but they're not stuck in the details. They don't worry that much about, unless it's really garbage. Then they're like, oh,
I have a lot of respect for copyright, for copy editors, for people who have that kind of skill and temperament too, just to go word for word, sentence, they have that kind of attention to detail. I don't have that. I have to look at it again, revisit it, and I have to have like maybe 10 people look at my work before, if I'm going to publish it, like put it in a book or to make sure.
I'll compliment you here. I made fun of you a little while ago. You're big picture. See, that's a good thing. You're big picture. You take a step back. Other people are stuck in the minutia. You're big picture, and that can be a good thing. So that's your strength. You play to your strengths.
Well, I want to say this about your book, We Are 100, is that the big picture is what really hooked me in. It's the basic premise of people who've been done wrong severely and looking for a way. Well, how do you put it? It seems to be the way that you frame it within the book. These damaged people who've been hurt, they're looking for a way to end their suffering, and at the same time looking for a measure of, I don't know if it's revenge or justice, maybe, or a combination of the two.
Both. So from my point of view, and it's ever changing, but I was trying to tinker with the moral compass to begin. You have people who are at their wits' end. They basically have nothing to live for and are down, and they are discovered by someone, a figurehead, who says, hey, if you're thinking of committing suicide, more power to you. But I noticed that there's this figurehead, I used figurehead twice. There's a way you can do this and do good at the same time. Yeah. So you have these characters who are, and there's no way around this, they are committing murder and suicide. It's a murder-suicide, but they are taking out evil people. So is that justified? I mean, murder shouldn't be justified, but I'll go to the beginning in my head where this all sort of came from was, and I can't pronounce the guy's name, Pharmaboy. Martin, can you say his last name? Shacklee or Jack? Yeah. So when he bought that drug and jacked the price 2,000%, he got away with it for a little while. Everybody was angry at him, but so that's where I was thinking of it. Is what if someone killed him? Murder is wrong, but how many people would have conflicting emotions about it? They would say, yeah, that guy got killed, but he was a son of a bitch that hurt millions of people. Like, he was actively damaging humanity for profit. He's an evil guy. Did he deserve, I don't answer that question at all. I just sort of put it out there, and people reading the book can come to their own conclusions. I draw no, like, this is the way to do it. But that's where I started. So it was, what you said is true. It's the overall, what is good, what is evil. Go to this. This wasn't on my mind, but look at Thanos. There were people when the movie came out saying it might not be such a bad thing to have someone go and half of humanity's gone because we are fucking the planet up. So.
Yep. I want to say hello to Kendra in the chat. She just appeared. Hello, Kendra. How you doing? And Theo, glad to see that you're here. So in terms of wrestling with this moral dilemma,
I was on the private chat. There's everybody. Hi, ask a question, and Andy will read it, and I'll do my best to answer it. It's ask a question about a book you're just learning about and haven't read and have no clue. So
exactly. So in terms of the moral focus of the story, were you happy at the very beginning and as you wrote it about where you stood morally regarding the issues, or did that shift over time?
No, I just I didn't shift. I sort of I knew where the ending was, and I knew where the beginning was, and then the middle was just tinkering to get to the ending in a way that I hope was would be satisfying for people. So it wasn't about It's about asking the question. It's not about changing minds or my own perspective. It was just putting the thought out there.
Does that structure for writing seem to work better? Like, does it work better for you where you have that idea of the beginning and the end and you're filling in the middle, or do you prefer when you don't know where the story's going and you're just kind of free writing and following along on your own?
It's difficult to answer that kind of, because this is my first work of fiction. Everything I've written to this point has been nonfiction, so that was very easy to write. It's like, oh, it happened. It's my life, so I just wrote it. I can sort of answer because I do have a screenplay under my belt, and that was very linear. I had an idea and I wrote beginning, middle, and then it took me forever to write the end. And I'm not going to lie, I still tinker with the ending because I'm not that excited about it. I really love the first and second acts of the screenplay I've written, but I keep looking at the third act going, this is just, something's missing. So that's why no one's ever heard of that, because it's been several years and I'm just sort of tinkering with it without being the guy that constantly talks about, so I'm working on a screenplay. This is the first time I've talked about it publicly. But so yeah, this is my first work of fiction. And so I don't know how I write. That's just how I did this one.
It was, what I enjoyed about it is that it was a page turner. I could tell that you put some real thought into structuring the chapters so that, there was a beginning, middle, and end to every chapter. And it made me want to read the next chapter.
I did purposely create chapters that were shorter, I would say, because I wanted them to be punchy. And thank you. A very kind compliment. I appreciate it. And I have been hearing that from people that have read it so far. It came out on Tuesday, the 23rd. And the next morning I had a text from a friend who said, well, things I did not expect to happen last night, smashing all the way to chapter 12. I was going to read to chapter 3 and put it down. And then I posted that on Facebook, like, hey, check out my book. It's a page turner. And someone commented on it that said, I went all the way to chapter 21 on night 1. And my wife's mom was one of the test readers. She contacted her daughter and said, well, I'm mad at Nathan. I got a bad night's sleep last night. I stayed up late to finish his book. I never stay up late. I usually put it down, but nope. I wanted to see where it was going. And the next thing I knew, it was done. And then the other thing I'm getting is that it was like it was a compliment, but in a weird way, they say, I wish it was a little longer. But I'm like, that's good. It's the Seinfeld thing, go out before it gets too long. So
well, I'm going to ask a question that
I just saw it pop up.
Is it a novel of a distinct genre, or multiple directions like suspense, tragedy, comedy, romance, touching? I mean, so what genre would you put it in, Nathan?
I would possibly call it a thriller because it's sort of a crime procedural. You have bad guys doing bad things, and the main characters that we haven't talked about are 2 FBI agents that are trying to figure this whole thing out. Who the organizer is, what the individual motivations are, how they're all connected. So it is a procedural. As far as touching, how do I put this without giving anything away? I said that I knew where the ending was. People have really liked the ending. I'll say this as a tease. The ending is me revealing why the person putting all this together is doing what he did. The whole like, you read the entire book and then it's revealed this is what happened, and people are really liking that explanation. They find it very touching and not fake. You don't get to the end and then sort of like, I couldn't think of anything else, so he was just an angry loner, or
exactly.
Well,
that's what I thought when I was
reading.
When I was reading through that third act, when I was reading that, why this character did the things that he did, and I thought to myself, because we've known each other for a number of years at this point, Nathan, and it's like, oh, I could feel you right there. I could feel the passion. And it's like, oh, I understand, and I can see where you're coming from on this. Very powerful. It's very powerful.
I could say this because why not? I since the book has only been out a couple of weeks, I haven't done any of these interviews really. So I'm sort of I don't have my
media talking points down. I don't have pat answers. That's why I laughed right now. The female lead, I don't really have a basis for. The male lead is Barrett. You know Barrett, my best friend.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the bad guy. I based the bad guy on me. So when you say that you got me in the bad guy,
right.
But is he a bad guy? That goes back to the moral quandary. Is he really a bad guy? What he's doing, when you read it, you might go, I kind of agree with him, because these are my thoughts. I have jokes that are along this line. I did a show last night, and I have sort of a partially evil joke that always gets a great response. And last night was the first night I pitched the book from stage, and I said, hey, if you liked that joke, you might like the way I think, and therefore like this book. So, I
think like making the bad guy believable is something that a lot of books fail at, where it's just like, well, why are they doing this? Well, because they're evil and they like doing evil, and it's like not an explanation for anything, and it doesn't. It's not a believable character, you know.
Yeah.
Works so rarely. I think the only time it worked is probably Michael Myers in Halloween. I mean, where it was just the shape, and you didn't know why he did what he did, and that's what made him scary. But I agree. Generally, if you just sort of leave it out there like bad guy's gonna bad, well.
When I write bad guys, I always think of that saying, right? The villain is the hero in his own story.
Yes.
And so that makes the villain, people can relate to the villain. So it isn't just this two-dimensional stock character. And because most bad people don't see themselves as bad people. They see themselves as heroes.
I read an interview, and I don't know how people are going to react to this. I read an interview with Mads Mikkelsen, who talked about his character in the movie Doctor Strange. And he basically said what you did. He said, I look at the character, and I don't look at him as like, oh, I'm the bad guy in the movie. I look at him as, oh, I've had this experience, and so I want to do this thing because I think it's a good thing. Everybody else is calling him the bad guy, but he has in his mind motivate. He said, that's the way I play it, because I'm not going to play it as we've just mentioned, all three of us. Oh, well, I'm the bad guy, so I have to do an evil thing. I'm therefore going to try and release, Dormammu. Like he said, he approached it from a personal point of view. What is his backstory? And there is a backstory in the movie. I can't think of what it is. He suffered loss, I think it was. But he wanted to make the character three-dimensional. I'm dumb. Three-dimensional. He wanted a full character.
Full of character. So Theo asked, how long did it take you to write it? And was it an organized, structured process, or rather an intuitive story or idea that casually elaborated further? That's interesting, Theo, because whenever I write anything, I always have the structure set up. I have a little graph. That I do, a little map. How do you write, Nathan?
Mine was write as you go. I would write a page and then write another page and write another page. And as I was writing, I'm like, oh, this will tie to this and this will tie to this. And I wanted to make sure that it wasn't, again, let's go to interviews. I heard an interview years ago with Matt and Trey from South Park.
Oh, yeah.
They said the worst writing is, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. And they said the best writing is, this happens because of this, which relates to this, and therefore this. And I'm like, so as I was writing, I had that in mind. How does everything connect so that it is logical and not just a series of this happens? As far as how long did it take me? This could be amusing. I have no idea. I started in 2019 and got 3/4 of the way finished. And then the pandemic hit. And everybody, I think, at the pandemic beginning might have said, like, ooh, trapped at home, I'm going to write the best screenplay, novel, do whatever. But when you have two small kids that you have to keep track of, everything came to a screeching halt. I would have to parent all day. And then at night, when I should be writing, I was wiped the fuck out. Yeah. And then when school started, it's Zoom school. So you'd think like, okay, good. Now they're going to, nope. It's put one kid in one room and another kid in another room, and then walk back and forth saying, get off YouTube, get off that video game, get back in your classroom. So That did not free up any of my time because my wife during the pandemic, God bless her, and this is coming from agnostic atheist, had a job. She could work from home, so she had to isolate and pay the bills, where Comedy Boy became, daddy daycare because I was not on the road or pulling in any income. So I was absolutely in charge of the kids while she was being the breadwinner. So we got lucky.
Heavy lifting. That's heavy lifting. Having managed two small, I mean, how old are your kids?
8 and 6.
Yeah.
Daddy daycare. I was Mr. Mom. I was a Michael Keaton reference. That's what I was. I like using everything as a reference.
So Nathan, I have to ask you, did you edit anything out of the book? So let's say you wrote down the first draft, and then did you look at it and say, well, this isn't going to work, and you just pulled it out?
I don't remember. I'm sure I did. I think I just tinkered along the way. I mean, obviously words and sentences, but I don't think I ever took out an entire scene, if that's where you're asking. They entered the skyscraper and went up 20 stories, and then they're like, oh, that's not working. And just erase that chapter and start from scratch. I don't think I did. I know I didn't do that, but there's always sentence tweaking and paragraph moving and word disappearing.
So here's from B. That's the problem I have while writing. I know how the story connects, but I have trouble articulating that. Any hints on how to actually write a book? Thanks, from a severe novice.
Yes and no. I am also a novice, but the thing is, as my parents will tell you, I've been writing since I could play with crayons. So I was a blogger before blogging was a thing. In college, on an electric typewriter, I would write out the again, nonfiction events of my life. The first major story I wrote was in Boston when for college we visited a sperm donation clinic to try and make a couple bucks, and I wrote a synopsis of that then I took it to a Kinko's, if Kinko's was around back then, or some print copy shop, and physically mailed it to friends because there was no such thing as email for 5 more years at least. So I don't know what I'm doing, but I have put in my Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours.
Dude, you write a lot.
Yeah, it makes it easier when that's all you do. I try to barf up a blog a week. It's all nonfiction, but so the only way to learn to write is to write. It's if you watched the Michael Jordan documentary, the 6-part series on ESPN, there was one episode on oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Dennis Rodman.
Yep.
And he talked about going, and it was insane. He talked about he was the great rebounder. And he would talk about being in the gym at 3 a.m. and having someone launch basketballs at the rim so he could watch how it hits the rim and where it would, so he would know that, oh, when it hits the rim here, I have to be here to get it, to rebound that ball. And I mean, that's everything. It is non-stop practice. It's do it. I mean, you hear about Tiger Woods bouncing a golf ball on his putter. Michael Jordan was obsessed, and writing is my obsession. It's just what I do. When I have a free moment, I write shit down. You go back to, have I taken anything out of the book? I write so much that so much of it just gets barfed up and then tossed aside. Like, okay, I wrote that, but it's not particularly interesting or good, so I'm not going to go further with it. So yeah. So
you're experimenting with it.
Yeah. But I'm constantly writing. It's what I do. I have a bag of cats in my head, and I want to get them the fuck out of there at all times.
Well, that's why, once again, I like your style of writing, because it shows what I see when I'm reading it is that it's very clean. It's just like how you tell your jokes. Your jokes are clean in the fact that there's no explanation needed. It's like bump, a bump, a bump. It's like, oh, I understand. I understand what you're communicating. And it doesn't leave me thinking with any kind of, ambiguity.
Yeah. Now, let me answer BB's second question. Do I have a method? Do I just start writing jots down or notes? Yes. Ideas always, when they pop into my head, you just make a voice memo on your phone, or you open up a writing app and just write down a sentence like, oh, that car cut me off, a blue Chevy Nova. And you build the story from there. You try and remember when you look at the note, like, oh yeah, that car cut me off. What was I thinking in that moment? What was going on around there? I saw something out of the corner, and then you just build on your experiences, whatever. And this is nonfiction. So I don't, the structure for fiction is probably, if you have an idea, write that idea down. Ooh, wouldn't it be neat if, and then you just, okay, I have another idea. And then you realize, oh, I can connect these two ideas like this. And the next thing you know, you're writing, and there's your structure is,
So you want to talk about the characters? I mean, the hero.
Yeah, we can talk about whatever you want. I'm at your leisure. This is great practice for actually talking about it if I ever get the opportunity to. This
is going to sound stupid, but how did you come up with the names?
Oh, this isn't stupid at all. I have two stories here. One is that I hate a lot of fiction names. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but you've seen them. You've heard them in movies, and you just go like, why did they name it that?
That's not a real name. No one calls anyone that.
Well, before I go too far down this rabbit hole, when you ask, because did you find the names like, oh, that's an acceptable name? Or did they jump out as you like, what the fuck? Before I get to...
I thought that they said something about the characters. That's what I thought. I thought that there was something about it that's like, all right.
Well, then here's the answer to your question in the part two. I lived in Los Angeles for a long time and worked behind the scenes in filming locations. So I was never in front of the camera, and if you Google my name, I'm the only Nathan Timmel out there, and you'll find 20, 30 pages of just me. But somewhere in there, you're going to find an episode of CSI. I don't know if it's CSI Miami or New Orleans, but there's a Nathan Timmel character because the writer was on set and saw he just stole my name. He stole my name and put it in an episode of CSI. And so all of the names in my book are my Facebook friends. I take the first name from one friend and the last name from another and put them together. So they're all real names, just sort of like a jumble or boggle or one of those. But yeah, they're all real people in a sense. In fact, when the back cover blurb, both the Evan and Frankert people, I got a text right away like, dude, LOL, like they saw their names and got a kick out of it. And I'm assuming that as people that I know read through the book, they will find themselves and hopefully get a kick out of it, except for one who I made a bad guy. One of the guys that gets because he is someone that hurts people. And so.
Right. I can see why someone may not want to be sharing a name with that person.
Right. And I'm not saying who, because I'll let them find it. I don't want to put out there who it is.
Right.
Nothing personal. It was just in the grab bag. Yeah.
It's just, I like your name. You have a good name, so I'm going to steal it. Isn't that who? Oh, I'm going to steal it. Who said that?
Picasso.
What's that? Picasso said,
artist borrow, great artist steal.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you, Jack.
Cool. So were there other books in the same, I mean, do you read books in this genre?
I only read nonfiction. The only fiction books I have read in the past, I think, the Harry Potter books. I've read the Harry Potter series at least 5 times, and that's pretty much the only fiction I've read. I read nonfiction nonstop. I read nonfiction. Like I have nothing for or against Elton John. Some of his songs are finger pop and toe tap, but I'd never put him on. I loved his book. People are gonna get angry at me. Like, really? I don't care about the Who. Like, they got a couple hits, but I would never listen. Roger Daltrey's book was amazing. I love nonfiction. I will read anything, including people I have no particular interest in. And historical nonfiction, scientific. Right now I'm reading an advertising executive talking about how advertising works. So I'm going to advertise myself.
That could be useful. That could be useful. To how to market yourself. Indeed.
Don't steal Theo's name. Got it.
His name is trademarked.
Yes.
Yeah, right. What was the most difficult part of the book for you to write? Because and I'll say this first. Most people find the second act, which happens to be the book, to be the most difficult part to write.
I'm not trying to sound like a dick here, but I didn't have a stumbling block, I don't think. I never ran up against a brick wall. I just sort of, as I would present myself with one problem, like how do I connect this with this, I would have sort of an idea or two, and one wouldn't work and one would work, and I would explore it, and if it really worked, I'd put it in. But it was never a matter of being stuck for days or how do I do this. Yeah, there were little like trip ups of, okay, how do I do this? Like what gets without giving anything away, you have to have the protagonists and the antagonists meet. So how do I have that happen? And I just sort of like, well, it could happen like this. And that seems logical. I mean, it's not too far a throw. It does happen quickly, but I wanted it to happen quickly. I did put a line in something like, they did this for several days. And then this I'll tell you this, the way I just said quickly, I based the book in my brain on the movie Taken with Liam Neeson, as not with any of the content, as having read it, but just the pace. If you remember that movie, once the daughter gets kidnapped, he hits the ground running and it's go, 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 go. And I liked that. There wasn't a lot of exposition, or I don't have 10 pages of, now I'm going to give you the backstory on this character and how they're, daddy didn't hug them enough. And so they started cutting, but then they found Jesus. And then they decided that alcohol wasn't, I don't give so much exposition that you get bogged down and are like, okay, great. I get this character. It's, here's the setup. And then, bam.
Yeah. I think exposition a lot of the times can be lazy writing. People just want to fill pages sometimes. I get the impression authors want to fill pages. And so there's this exposition in there because in some ways it's filler.
Yeah. Either they're too in love with their character and they really want the reader to delve deep into who the character is and stuff. But sometimes that's just not necessary.
Yeah, I think, you hear about actors doing it to great effect, where they say, "Ooh, I need to build the backstory of my character." But George Clooney once said, if you're the guy that's delivering a pizza, don't fucking worry about it. Just deliver the pizza. Don't get too far into your head.
Well, I think what's important, and this is from my experience, doing some screenplays and stuff, is that one, you should always show and not tell. So instead of going through all this exposition, it's better to show the behavior, right, in the story. And that even though the character may not be stating their exposition, may not be stating their backstories, as long as you know what the backstory is, I think as the author, I think that helps. That adds a certain amount of dimensionality to whatever character you're writing. And
if I can feed that through so that it shows without having to tell, right?
Yeah,
if I know why they're doing what they're doing and can bring that out without, and maybe going off what Jack said, and this is just spitballing, that could be certain people do that, but they keep it in the book. Like, ooh, why would he do this? Why would this happen? And then it stays instead of being, you can put that all down and then just take it out and leave the essence.
Right. So do you have other stories using the characters, using, the hero characters, Michael Godwin and who is it? Susan Chamberlain. Do you have other ideas with these characters?
Nope. And from messages I've gotten, that's going to piss some people off.
Because,
I've got several that said, I can't wait to hear what they do next. And I'm like,
oh, people want a sequel.
Exactly. And I was actually talking to my wife about this tonight. I liken it to the Hunger Games. There's some fiction I've read. Holy shit. Not just the Harry Potter. I'm into anything that teenagers are into, apparently. I read all the teen books. Have either of you read the Hunger Games?
I have. And I've also read the first Harry Potter book.
Well, did you like the first book, or did you like the series?
I like the Harry Potter book, and what I really liked about Hunger Games, and I'll say this, is that it's clean writing once again. There's the grappling of issues in the Hunger Games, but at no point do you feel like the prose is you're being weighed down by the prose. Right. And of course, it's a young adult book, but still, there are characters there. Of course, there are plot points in the book, but the characters come to life, and you don't feel like there's artificiality in the story, that the characters are real and that these are things happening to them.
Well, here's why I bring it up. I enjoyed the shit out of the first Hunger Games book. I thought it was very crisp, very fast. And when I was done reading it, I'm like, that was a good little read. And then it became a phenomenon. And in my brain, and I could be wrong, the author went, huh? Or the publisher went, well, we need to cash in on this. And the second book, in my opinion, was not that good. And the third book was completely unnecessary. In my brain, the Hunger Games first book, when that was done, that was all you needed. And you just left it hanging. Like, that's where it is. Yeah. And I have nothing in my head right now, and I do not want to be oh shit, people like this book, let's crank out the next one just using those characters just because people like them. Now, there can be great sequels. You have Lethal Weapon 1 and Lethal Weapon 2. I mean, come on, the godfather of Lethal Weapon movies. Wait, does that right? Anyway, I'm not opposed to it. I just have nothing in my brain right now, and I'm not worrying about it, and I'm not sitting down going, shit, people like this, I better do, it's just It was the best. The other two were just add-ons. Agreed. Yep. Yeah. Thank you, B.
Definitely. You're speaking as an artist. You're like saying to yourself, well, it's fun. People like it and everything. They want a sequel, but I don't know if I can really do justice to it. And that's honest. And I like that. And I like that. I don't know if I would be that brave to tell you the truth. I'd be racking my brains with God, I really have to come up with something.
Really have to do more.
If something comes to me, I'll start taking out those notes. Like, ooh, there's an idea. But I've never been one to force it. Even in my comedy, we've had this discussion. I've never been a guy that has been able to sit down and go, okay, Uber's pretty big right now. What's funny about getting an app and getting in a stranger's car? And I have to have an experience. It has to come organically. Either the original idea or the experience for my comedy. I generally don't sit down and dream shit up. This just happened to appear in my noggin, and I wrote it down, and it worked. And I'm very happy that it worked in my mind. And if it happens again, yay! And if it doesn't, well, shit.
What's really fascinating, what I really like doing on YouTube, is like, talking with people I don't talk with all the time, and figuring out how their brains work and how their minds work, because different people have different ways of thinking about the world. And I know that we were messaging before you came on the show, and I asked you, is there a section of the book you'd like to read?
And I said, I have no clue. I'll ask my wife. Because the worst thing you can do to me is ask me about something I've said or written. It happened today. Someone sent me a message and they quoted the book, and I didn't know what they were doing. They said, in their own way, they said this. They said they quoted the book and then wrote, "Are you kidding me?" with like several sad faces, like they were really touched by that moment in the book. And I just wrote back, "Huh?" And then a minute later, I went, "Oh wait, that's my book. Okay, got it." Like I don't know, but I don't know.
Well, I write it down. It doesn't stay up here.
Yeah,
I put it on the page so I can forget it and make room.
Because I'm a horrible guest, I pulled up the section to read, but then to make sure everything was clean as I was chatting, I didn't want too much open. I closed it again. I have to find it.
Okay, you can find it. Jack and I can talk as you go through your tech issues down there, if you're okay with that.
Not tech issues. It's literally just opening up the documents again so I can read, because I didn't want to sit with the book and look at it. I wanted to just be able to stare at the screen and do the PDF version. So
I understand.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that's interesting about how Nate's been talking about his writing process is in Stephen King's memoir. He says there's basically two kinds of writers. There's putter-inners and taker-outers, where they'll write. He describes the putter inners as they'll write the whole thing and then go in and fill in gaps, versus somebody who writes a whole lot of stuff and then pulls out chunks that they think don't matter once they've got the whole story there. And it sounds like what Nate's talking about is the second type. And if you like nonfiction, you should check out his memoir. Is amazing. It's a really good read.
I just reread.
Sorry to interrupt, but I thought Stephen King's method of writing, at least back in the day, was to get really drunk and do a lot of blow, and then write, because that's what he described.
It was. Stephen King had some serious substance abuse issues, which he does talk about.
He fully admitted to it. I'm not making fun of him. That's him saying, I used to do a lot of blow and write 10,000 words.
Yeah. If anyone has,
I interrupted you. I apologize. You were going to say something.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. If anyone in the chat is interested in reading through King's memoir, it's called On Writing. I just reread it for a second time recently, and it's just full of insight on the process and how he goes about the art. It's definitely worth your time.
You know what a fantastic book is? On Writing Well by Strunk and White. It's a technical writing book, and it is phenomenal. Yes. And there's a second book I like about writing. It's I can't think of it right now, but On Writing Well I think it's On Writing Well by Strunk and White.
Yes.
Strunk and White is, that's required mandatory ownership in any English program, or at least any of the ones I've been through that worthwhile.
And Jack, you read the King book. He does mention the book that you just mentioned, On Writing Well, and he definitely recommends for people who are just beginning, or if you've been doing it for a while and you need to bone up on the basics, basically of grammar, then definitely.
I have it somewhere. I'm going to read it over the course of this week. It is maybe it'll inspire me to do something.
It's not a thick book either. It's just
it's almost a pamphlet.
Yes, exactly.
All right. I have it pulled up if you'd like me to go.
Please do.
All right. Fair warning. I have never done this. I've never, tried to do an audio thing. So I don't. Actually, I did record an audiobook. I forgot. My first book, my first nonfiction, I recorded an audio version of it. It's 10 hours long. I can't imagine, but I did it. I haven't done this. So I'm going to have to, I'm going to half wing it.
Sure.
Here we go. Where did she tell me to start? Right there. So this is the beginning. It's the prologue, and we've been introduced to the first character, Evan Frankert, and he has made his presence known at a corporate board meeting for a pharmaceutical company, and he has entered this meeting uninvited, and he asked he's holding the people in the meeting hostage and told them to empty the building so that anyone, quote, innocent gets out. But the people in the board meeting, he wants them. Evan took one last look out the window. The number of employees exiting the building had slowed to almost nothing. He decided to give the stragglers one more minute. My wife was on clozapran, he said. If every member of the board had been nervous a moment ago, everything that was happening to them finally sunk in. To put it in street parlance, shit just got real. My wife was on clozapam, he repeated, and after you bought the rights to it, you jacked up the price. And over the course of 2 years, we had to drain our bank accounts and mortgage our house to keep her alive. I'm guessing you figured out how it all ended by now. Look, Michael Dexter began. His voice sounded almost sympathetic. Almost. I'm sorry about your wife. Really, what we do here is try and save lives. If we raise the price on a drug, it's because of overhead. The money we make goes into R&D, Evan interrupted. Is that what you're going to go with? You need more money to make better drugs? Okay. If there's so much research going on, then why did you get a $15 million bonus last year? Bonus. On top of your already obscene salary. If you're in the black, why do you need more? You only raise the price for profit. And if you have profit, that's enough. Why can't the number of, I'm stumbling here. Why can't the profit be 20 million? It's still profit, right? Why do you need 200 million? The only difference between 2 and 20 and 200, if you're profitable, is the amount of your salary and bonus. You want more, so you charge more. Evan waited for a response. None came. You charge more and people die, he concluded. Evan reached under a flap on his cart. A button awaited his touch. It had taken him 3 weeks to bring all the components into the building. Some parts stayed in his locker until he needed them. Others were hidden in the nooks and crannies of the basement, places no soul ever wandered. After his last night's shift, he remained at work, diligently putting everything together in the custodial break room. There were no cameras in there. No one paid any attention to the janitors. In the lobby, sure, there were cameras everywhere. But the lepers, the untouchables who did the grunt work for the kings, no need to keep an eye on the disposable people who don't exist in your world. Evan stared directly at Michael Dexter. Under the flap, his finger tapped the button lightly. You're doing it again. You want to acquire Metzger Pharmaceutical so you can own the rights to difomamine. Once you own it, you'll raise the price and kill people. Evan looked around at the others. And you're voting to let it happen. He thought of his wife one last time. He didn't know whether or not there was an afterlife or if he'd be seeing her in it, but he knew this was the end of his time on this particular mortal coil. There you go.
Yeah.
That's what you told me to read.
Whatever the F you just did, you should do it more often with that voice of yours. You know, I just have this nasally New England voice.
Compose my voice.
But you got the
I'm going to be embarrassed to watch this back, the stumbling and like, okay, I just got lost because I can't read.
Dude, it's just like, if people like what they're hearing, I mean, in terms of the low tone and the power in there about the story, then you mess up a couple of words or something like that, and it's all sins are forgiven, basically.
We need to
Parks got chill.
We need to zombieify Isaac from South Park and have him read it.
Right.
He had a good voice.
Yeah. Did people say they got angry? Did people, other readers? Because when you just read that, now, mind you, I've already read through the book, but you just read that, I got angry. Did other people say that they got angry at the injustices you pretty much went over?
People are just they're not being specific yet on what they like. So it'd be interesting. I'm interested in all sort of feedback. I like specifics. I have not been getting specifics. I've been getting. I like all praise. I do negativity. That's going to come too. People are not going to like it, and what are you going to do? But they're like, oh, I want more. I like the characters. They've been very general. The biggest compliment has been the Pageturner part, and that's what I wanted. So, but I look forward to hearing what people think of the specifics.
Well, I can tell you right now, just from, like I said, from you just reading it, it was emotional for me. That's what it was. Yeah, it was emotional.
I wish I'd practiced it.
Okay, when you get invited on a real show, you'll have it down.
This is a goddamn real show. I love you guys. What is this, my third or fourth or fifth time on? I love talking to you guys. I consider this very real.
Yeah, well, it's real because I'm up at 10:30 at night. I'll tell you that. And I have a show at 9 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, this is real for Andy, for me.
Yeah,
talking about myself in the paper.
I noticed that when you sent that, then like 10:30 Eastern. I'm like, you fucks stay up late.
Well, Jack is over in Arizona. It's
right,
like 7:30 where he is.
I'm in the central time zone, so we've got three little squares, three triangles on this, and three different time zones. There you go.
Yeah.
Making it happen.
So Nathan, is there something about the book that you think most people don't get? Is there a nuance? Is there a nook and cranny, like in the Thomas's English Muffin, that you just put in there that a casual
Is this
reader?
a loaded question? Do you know what I'm going to say?
I don't know what you're going to say.
Feels leading.
It does. No, not at all. I'm just curious.
I have too much time on my hands, so I am not going to. There are very obvious ones that I explain, that I say, here this is. But in my comedy and my life, and I just did it earlier tonight, I reference everything. Everything is a pop culture reference to me. Literally, that's all I do. Right before I started recording, a friend posted a picture of their dog, and on their said, "Has there ever been a shaggier dog?" And the first thing I did was I typed in the name of the Shaggy DA, a 1976 Disney movie. Like, oh well, this is shaggier. That like. So the book is peppered with pop culture references that some are right there in front of you, and some I had to explain one to my wife, and she said, "Oh, that's fucking sneaky," and I'm not going to tell anybody what it is. But
all right, very good.
If someone catches it, I will add, but I did something that, look, I don't do this often, but when I did it, I sort of pulled an Anthony Michael Hall and went, oh, I gave myself the breakfast because it's on a bad guy. And I did something where I'm like, oh, that's just mean, but I'm going to do it because it's sneaky. Right. But yeah, the book is peppered with pop culture references. Again, some of them are blatant, like a Simpsons reference where it says referencing the Simpsons, but others are just sneaking lines in because I do it to amuse myself. I was on stage once selling my shirts and shit after a comedy show, and I just started going, saying I have shirts, souvenirs, novelties, party tricks, and the audience is staring like, anybody tells me what that is, I'll give them $1. And a guy yelled out, "Top secret." I'm like, you get $1. Just the great movie with Val Kilmer, Abrams Zucker. The Zucker brothers. Yeah. Wow.
I'll tell you the interesting thing about
my leg just knocked up. I am in so much pain right now.
I hate when that happens.
What happened?
All I did was shift the seat. Down the back of my thigh.
Very nice. A little bit of drama here. A little bit of terror in the terror basement.
Just locked up my muscles. Wow, that was out of nowhere and it hurt. Oh, I can't sit. I have to stretch this leg out. Oh my god. I'm laughing, but I'm in a lot of pain just because I don't know. That's the only way that's the only way I could think to respond to explain that I'm about to stand up and move up my entire right leg, the back of the back thigh, just Charlie horsed like a mofo.
Well, that happens. So the interesting thing about the pop culture references in the chunk that you read, the feeling of the tension of, okay, the reader knows he's going to blow everybody up, but the people in the boardroom don't know what's coming. Right.
Yep. They have no clue. He's just,
immediately as you started reading it, I was like the boardroom scene in that Kevin Smith's Dogma.
Oh,
a very similar feel.
Didn't even think of that.
God
damn it. I thought I did something original. What I was thinking of was both Die Hard and Terminator 2. I was thinking of what the explosion looked like when I was writing that. But yeah, god damn it. See, everything has been done.
What I like about that scene too, that you just read from, just before that, the Evan sends out, I think it was the secretary. He just tells
she's the one that's going to empty the building. And let me quick say, in my defense, Jack, if I am remembering correctly now, because I didn't even think, they targeted them for their individual sins. Yeah. You do this, you do this, you do this. You're all bad people. Whereas what I'm doing is you are collectively a corporation that does evil. So I'm going to hope that makes mine different. It does. But yeah, it is
well,
that kind of, it is.
I'm not saying but the source of drama and tension in the scene that the reader knows that
there's a parallel. I didn't even realize that, but from now on, I'll say, yes, that's another pop culture reference I pulled from.
That's right.
Say I stole it.
You heard it here.
Yes. That will be my new go-to answer.
So Nathan, we're getting close to an hour. Is there something you wanted us to ask you about the book that we just didn't get around to? Was there a topic about the book or an aspect of the book that we just didn't get to?
Nope, because I had no idea what we were going to talk about outside like the book, but I'm not good at this. I'm not good at talking about my own stuff, so I wish I had talking points. I'd probably be better if I did. What do you want to talk about for the last 6 minutes?
How's the comedy doing anyway? You said that you're in Iowa. You're going to shows. You're doing shows. What kind of craziness is going on out there?
I am in the middle of, for the first time in a year, a 4-week run where I've had shows the past 2 weekends and the next 2 weekends. I believe or was it the past 3 weekends? No, it's the past 3 weekends and one more coming up. They're just one-off shows, but I have my first microchip in me. I have my first Pfizer, so I feel a little better about being out in public. I mask up until I get on stage, and then I take it off on stage. I usually bring a little microphone condom that, the windshield, so that doesn't pop your peas. And I just put that over the microphone the other comics are using, so I don't catch their bat AIDS, as Jake calls it. I'm enjoying it. I've been bringing a cheat sheet on stage because I have all the ideas in my head, but no outlet for them. So I don't want to go through an entire act of, wait, I did all my jokes from 2019. Shit. But it's been a blast. I'm loving getting back out there. And
congratulations on getting your first jab.
Yeah, thanks. I live in a red state. So all you do is contact the rural places. We drove an hour and a half to get our shot because, we don't want them microchips in there. It's a fake disease. So they got plenty, and unfortunately, you live in a city where people have educations and are crowded and are interested in immunity. Me, yes. I live by, dumb fucks that, Bill Gates is trying to control us. So great, I'll take your shot.
Yeah, same problem here. It took me forever. I get my first one on Thursday, and it was the only appointment I could get in a 50-mile radius.
Well,
you go 3 hours north and they can't give them away,
Tons of mice. I take my mask off on stage. I wear my mask to the mic, as I'm going to the stage. When I'm in the side or with the audience as I'm watching the other comics, I am masked up, and then I take it off when I get to the stage.
Jack, are you getting your shot on your birthday?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
That's magic.
Happy birthday to Jack.
He's going to get to go outside again. Yeah, it'll be good.
Right. D's saying that she's getting her first shot on Friday. That's great. Fantastic.
So to beat this home, my wife has pointed this out. You said the links are up, taking you to Amazon. And because we do things ass backwards, I'm a creative type, which means I'm bad at business. I'm artistic. I don't do business, which means my own website doesn't have my own goddamn book on it. So I'd love it if anybody visited nathantimmel.com. But my wife said earlier, like, hey, we got to fix your website. You need a landing page. So the book is only on Amazon. I mean, that's where you'd buy it anyway. Right. But I have to promote better. I have to get it so when you go to my website, like, hey, dipshit wrote a book.
Well, what's important, and I want to say this too, is that anyone who is creative and produces content, it's if you do get the book, please leave a review on, just quickly just type it down, because that actually helps the algorithm for people to discover the book. So I know I was just looking at your Amazon page with We Are 100, and you have 3 very pleasant, very nice, good reviews there. And if anyone is getting the book, please leave a review, because that would be
very helpful. I think I put it on the last page of the book. Nobody knows who I am. So if you get it and you like it, please tell your friends and family. And if you get it and you hate it, hey, tell your enemies. Maybe they'll hate it too.
Right.
I am just here to try and get my name out there. Yeah. But thank you for bringing that up. You are correct. The algorithm scrapes Amazon and looks for books that are getting targeted with reviews like, oh, this one got 3 in one day, this one got 5. So if you like it, it really helps, and I would appreciate your kindness.
It definitely does. Yeah, I'm going to have to, once again, the link is in the description of the video. I just tried doing something clever with that, and it didn't work. So I'm going to try it again, maybe. Oh, here it is. You two discuss amongst
Tons of Mice just put it up.
Oh, did he? All right. So thank you. Tons of Mice.
If you want, I don't know if you want to put Tons of Mice up on the screen, or everybody can see it in the chat, can't they?
Yeah, everyone can see it in the chat. And so there you go. Once again, it's in the description too.
Clickable link. I don't think you can click it. Can you?
You
copy
can't
it?
click it on the screen, but the thing is, it's the very.
You can copy and paste it.
You can click it in the chat. You can click it in the chat. That's what it is.
Oh, I can't.
Well, it is on YouTube because I have a window open here on YouTube. So
gotcha.
So,
there it is.
So
and whoever pulled it up, look at you. Or maybe they did the smile at Amazon. Yes, tons of mice. Good for you. You're supporting charity when you do that. So when you go to smile.amazon.com and you purchase it, if you have a charity that you have designated, for me, it's my kids' elementary school.
Good.
Amazon gives a fraction of a penny to that charity. And over the course of the year, you've donated $6. But every time, 1,000 people do that, that's $6,000. It's pennies, but it adds up.
Every penny counts.
Wonder which charity won Amazon Smile for the pandemic. Well, like everyone was shopping on Amazon throughout the pandemic. Everybody's getting everything delivered.
Oh,
so
right. So hopefully
a bunch of charities must have cleaned up.
Yeah,
on that Amazon Smile stuff.
So now we just have to hope that no one designated the Proud Boys as their charity.
Oh, geez.
Every time I buy a box of ammo, a bearded fella gets gets his wings.
I know that you can get the book on Kindle. Is it available in paperback too?
Yep. It is both. When you go to that page, it'll have the little toggle up front that says Kindle or paperback. You click whichever one you want. Someone asked me this, a friend of mine who likes supporting me said, hey, which one gets you more money? Quick answer. They're the same. I actually looked into this and I thought it was kind of sad. When you see their bestseller books right now, where the Kindle version is more expensive than the paperback. Well, guess what? The publisher is getting a shit ton more money then, because my Kindle book is priced $4 or $5 less than the paperback, and I get the same amount. And I do that on purpose because you're not getting something physical. If you're just getting it zapped to you, I think it should be a little cheaper. That's just me, but that's why I do it. Yeah, $10 because again, nobody knows who I am. When I price pointed it, Amazon suggested, like, have you thought of $14.99? I'm like, of course I have, but I'm not going to ask people to risk $15 on me. You keep it under $10. I would rather sell 100 copies at $10 than 20 at $15. I just want, I'm not interested in money. I'm interested in comedy. And if somehow the book gets my name out there, that's more important to me than making a ton of money. Money is the last thing on my mind.
Indeed. So Nathan, where can people find your blog?
NathanTimmel.com is my home for everything except this book, at least for the next few days until I get it on there, and my wife helps with that. But Nathan Timmel, there's the menu across the top that, blog, corporate, video. There's even a hidden site that you guys can't see.
Ooh.
Can I go in the chat? How do I chat?
You can. Well, if you have your YouTube page.
I'm not on YouTube. I'm on the YouTube. Oh. So just type in nathantimmel.com/EPK, and then that's my electronic press kit. You have no reason to look at it. It's a hidden page that I use to send to bookers so that they can see. It's a place of keeping something online. It doesn't need to be public. I'm not hiding it, but why would anyone want to look at that except for booking agents?
It's there, but there's no links on the site.
Right. But I just told you the link, EPK. But yeah, all the other stuff is at the webpage at the URL. There's a ton of menu headings that you can click.
Cool. Well, Nathan, thanks for coming on the show, brother. It's always fun. And
thank you for having me. This is really nice and honestly good training. I mean, if I ever have to do this again or get to do this again, I'm not sure what the appropriate way of putting it is. Hopefully I get to do this again. And hopefully I won't have a Charlie horse in the middle.
Well, let's hope not. Or maybe you could just mix it up and get an aneurysm or something. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
You get the bleeding from the eyes. All right. So Jack Paterka, what have you been up to? What do you got coming up, brother?
Right now, the main thing I'm working on is I'm producing and occasionally hosting the Tea Room Dialogues podcast, which is now available on all your major podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, etc. We've got 3 episodes up. We've got another one coming out Friday, and we've got a few more that we're putting out this month. And then it's kind of tying in with the Satanic Estate stuff. So we're trying to basically put out episodes before and around the time that we're doing events, and then take a little break between them. So we're probably going to do 6 or 7, maybe 8 episodes over the next month or so, and then take a little break between then and July, and we'll do some more. We're kind of doing this weird theater of the mind thing where we're in this virtual estate, so we're recording the whole podcast as if we're in this virtual, tea room in the virtual house and having this very casual kind of conversation. So it's been going well, and we've got a rotating cast of hosts and a bunch of different guests, so you're not always listening to me, which is probably nice for some people. And it's coming along. It's a good show. I'm proud of the work that we're doing there, so go check it out.
Well, you're doing the Lord's work.
You're doing the Lord's work with your satanic shit.
Wow. Right.
Got to keep them going.
Quick shout out to Aunt Jer, Planned Parenthood public policy. Good on you. That's a good Amazon smile right there.
Excellent. So you probably already know I'm doing this crazy thing at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'm going to be covering a whole bunch of different stories from 9 to 10, and then we're doing the after party, the after show from 10 to 11. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank my fictitious God. I have most of the show planned out for tomorrow, so I can stay up late and get up late and just do the show. So I'm very excited about tomorrow. Once again, Nathan Timmel, thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you. I mean, I am honored and humbled. Thank you for allowing me to sully your YouTube channel.
We sully the place up on a regular basis.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Tons of mice, meals on wheels. Also awesome.
Awesome. All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.